So earlier in the chapter, we were working with the one-step equations, and you'll remember that this shows multiplication. So what we do is the inverse of that. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, and whatever we do to the left, we do to the right. And we are doing the left and right is defined as the equal sign. And we are inversing on this side, and we're actually doing the problem on the right side. So 15 divided by 3/4 on a calculator gets you 20, or you can do it off to the side. This one, same thing. This means dividing, so the opposite of dividing is multiplying. Just reviewing what we did earlier in the week, opposite of adding is subtracting. Notice that this is adding 1/4 to x. We don't look at the middle sign, we actually look at this. This is adding 1/4 to x. Checking our answer, we've talked just a little bit about that, plugging the number in and seeing which one works. So I wrote the equation twice, and I'm going to plug in 20 into the equation. I'm going to plug in 22, and I'm going to see which one works. So when I plug in 20, I got 12, so that doesn't work. But when I plug in 22, it does work. It does get me 14, which is what I'm looking for. Here, it's the equation is negative 2x plus 6. So I plug in the 7 that it asked me for and the negative 7. And it's the negative 7 that actually works. Negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14. Add the 6. That's what works to get me 20. I want the left and the right to be equal, not unequal. So negative 7 is the number that works. So today we're moving on up. Oh yeah, a little bit. We already worked with word problems. Okay, so we're on number 8 on the hard copy notes. This is what we are going to do. You're going to show your inverse operation to solve each equation. Please, whatever you do to the left, you must do to the right. And you're always going to get rid of addition and subtraction first and multiplication or division second, because we're doing the orders of operation in reversed. Grouping, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. So we are starting at the bottom of the order of operations and working our way up because we know the answer. We're trying to figure out what was the problem that got us 23. And when we see adding, we're going to do subtracting. When we see multiplying, we're going to do dividing. When we see exponents, we're going to do square roots. And here's one done for you. So here's the left and the right being defined. I add 8 first to zero that out. And then I get this as my new easier problem. From there, I do my second step. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. And I get 10 for my answer. So I often say, make a 0, make a 1. Zero out your constant, make a 1 for your coefficient. So let's go ahead and try that. Most kids find two-step equations fairly easy. I am going to zero out my constant on each side. And so this gets me 4y equals, what is 23 minus 7? I could use a calculator. 23 minus 7, 16? Okay, I think. Might want to check me on that. And then I am done with the first step, but I still need to figure out what 1y is. So I'm going to divide by 4 because that's going to make my coefficient a 1, and I want to know the value of 1y. So 1y is equal to 4. 1y just means y. I don't need the 1 there. Okay, I kind of forgot to remind you, whenever I see the x on the right, I usually flip the left and the right side, or I write this at the end. I like the x always on the left side. You don't have to do that. I just think it's a good idea. I'm noticing that I'm seeing that on number 10 down here. Number 10, I would want to flip that one around. Okay, so I'm going to put my line here. And what I need to get rid of first is the constant, whatever was being added or subtracted. Now, I'm not looking at the center of the sign. I'm looking at the number itself, and I wrote it down wrong there. I want to get rid of a negative 11. And how would I get rid of a negative 11? I would add 11. And whatever I do to the left, I'm going to do to the right. Okay, this is a minus 11. That 11 is being minused, okay, or is a negative. And the opposite way to zero that out would be to add it. This is where the integers start coming in and we start getting some confusion, okay? I am needing to zero this number out just like I had to zero this out. The opposite of a positive was a negative. The opposite of a negative is a positive. And this is 15 over here. Okay, So that's the end of the first step. Now I'm going to do my second operation and get rid of the dividing by 5. The opposite of dividing by 5 is timesing by 5. So x is equal to, I believe, 75. And remember, that is really 1x. Those 5s cancel each other out. So this right here confuses some kids. This is minusing 11 to some number divided by 5. So the opposite of minusing an 11 is adding 11. Okay, a minus and a negative is the same. I need to zero this out. If you check your answers, you'll see that they work. I can do that at the end. I probably have a master someplace around that shows it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scribble out the 10 and I'm going to stick it down here because I personally always like my unknown on the left side. If you're okay with working a backwards problem, you just go right ahead and do it. So what is my constant? My constant is a minus 5. Opposite of minusing 5 is adding 5. So this problem says negative 6 times some number gives me 15. That's not a whole number. There's no number when I times it by negative 6 that's going to give me 15. That's okay. Okay, this is the next common mistake that kids make is here. I need to make this a 1. Up here, the opposite of a minus 5 is a plus 5. Here, the opposite of multiplying by negative 6 is dividing by negative 6. Why do I need that to be a negative 6? Why isn't it a positive 6? Because I need to make this a 1. And any number divided by itself is 1. My daughter's yelling for me. I'm going to ignore her and hope she goes away. And you could get out a calculator and figure out what that is, or we can reduce it, divide by 3, divide by 3, and that's 5 over negative 2. Okay, so my answer is 5 over negative 2, or negative 2 and a half. You want to write it as a mixed number. See, she went away. It was the big one yelling for me. She doesn't really need me. She just wants something. Okay. So again, the opposite of minusing 6, this is the constant. I get rid of the constant first, is to add 6. So this says 2/3 of some unknown is 18. So what number, when I times it by 2/3, would get me 18? So I know the number needs to be bigger than 18. This is multiplying, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So 18 divided by 2/3. I probably should split screen, but I don't feel like it. I'm just going to do it by hand. That's 9 cross canceling. So I think that is 27. That kind of makes sense to me that 2/3 of 27, when I subtract 6 from it, would get me 12. That seems possible to me, so I'm going to go with it being correct. Let me go ahead and work these out and just show you that it checks and works. So you can stop watching if you want, because trust me, it does work. I'm going to plug in the 4 into here. So the equation was 4y plus 7 equals 23. So I'm going to plug in that 4. So this is 16 plus 7, which is 23. So it checks out. So here, negative 11 plus x over 5 should equal 4. So negative 11 plus 75 over 5. So that's negative 11 plus 15, which does equal 4. It checks out. Checking it just means plug your answer in and make sure that it works. This was a long video. Hang in there. It actually gets easier the more you do it. The one thing you got to be careful for is your pesky negatives. There's a common error that kids sometimes make of 2x plus 10 equals negative 2. Be really careful on something like this. I wish it would have shown up on here. Kids have a really hard time with negative 2 minus 10 when you have a negative number and you subtract from it. This would get you negative 12. I get a lot of 8s or negative 8s here. It gets us negative 12 because you're starting at negative 2 and going down 10 more. So be careful of those. Those are the most missed ones because of those pesky negatives. The answer would be negative 6 there. Long video. Sorry about that. Hang in there. Come see me if you need help.